Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, to Unmasking the Man. And if you're just joining us, perhaps this is your first episode. Remember, this is part 2, because on our previous episode, we were tackling a subject that we felt there was more that we had not really touched on. And this is on the intergenerational poverty. And that is the topic that we are continuing to discuss today. And let me again introduce you to my panelists. I have Levi.
Oh, yes.
And we have Kesis. And we have Alvin.
Strong to serve.
My name is Justus, and welcome to Unmasking the Man. Gentlemen, last episode, we talked about a lot of things. Equally, a lot was not said about this whole aspect of poverty and how it goes down generations. Let me start these conversations from this particular question. Are there systems or powers or institutions that have designed it in a way that there are certain people who they are almost meant to remain in a certain state of poverty, and these systems will do everything that it takes to have them remain there for whatever benefits that causes them, or there's no such a thing?
But of course,
there are, most definitely.
Of course they're there.
So how do we respond to that? Knowing that perhaps as much as I work so hard and do everything I can, I can't lift myself out.
Is not to wallow in it. I always, one observation I make is when you drive around lavish neighborhoods, there's always a slum nearby. You ever noticed? From the slum come the cooks, the security guards, the gardeners, and the guys who live in the lavish neighborhoods many times will never make the effort to make the living circumstances of the guys who are across from them better. They don't. They leave it right there. It's a generational thing from time back that, it feels good for people who have money to talk to people who don't from a position of money, and to inspire them. You guys.
Those motivational talks.
You can. And governments have taken that up, because if you look even at the World Bank, the IMF, how they deal with Africans, our very own president was complaining. We are paying 8 times more than other countries when it comes to actual remittance of what is due. It's designed to keep you in a certain place.
We are paying more and receiving less.
Yes. And receiving less with conditions.
Yes.
You'll sit this way, you will not pass here, you'll do this, blah,
you'll
blah.
not say this.
So there is that aspect that I think even when Jesus said, the poor will always be with you, it's because he knew the heart of man is so wicked that the man cannot spread the wealth one day to everyone. It's not possible. You have people, in fact, yesterday I was reading about billionaires who do not have heirs. Actually, last night I was reading about that. There's some certain billionaires for some certain companies who are worth billions of dollars, but they have no one to pass it off to. A lady I read about gave out $300 million to a cat.
To a cat?
To a cat. The richest cat in the world.
It's a very interesting.
You could have come and removed one whole entire village or 2 or 3 out of poverty. But it doesn't hit you that that's what we could possibly do. That's what you don't do. However, I want to caution people, because this is the other thing. Too many of us are also seated in that space, saying, since the world is designed against us, then we are never going to get out. So why even try? Let me write when you write an exam, all you write is your name. You won't even fill in the boxes for.
After all,
we are poor.
Now you are poor. If you are there, now you are poor.
For real, you're poor. It's very interesting. You're speaking about systems that are designed to keep people poor. Just last week we were having a discussion with a colleague, and they were remarking at how the phrase "Africa rising" sends shivers down some people, right? If you think about it, now I don't want this to be a geopolitical discussion, but if you think about it, the thought of someone else rising off of their quote-unquote low setting in society should be rejoiced at, right? If you look at the systems that are designed, sometimes those systems could be within the mental sphere that allows you to think that this is where we have come as a generation, this is what my forefathers have done, so therefore I will repeat the same thing. Yeah. I think it's Trevor Noah who writes in his book, Born a Crime, where he says that out of his experience in the apartheid regime, that what he just had to do was to get off of the ghetto, go talk to people. Yeah, just talk to people. Let them tell you what they're doing, so that they are what they're doing to be where they are at. And I've seen this happen a lot, especially in the example you've given, where someone who has wealth is talking to someone who does not have wealth, as though they have not tried. When that is sort, for example, motivation or a helping hand has been stretched out, and you're there seated saying, this guy is helping me probably because he has a lot. Yeah, it's not out of his goodwill. Yeah, and you're not taking it up because you want to crucify his methods.
There are principles, of course. The first principle here we are talking about is that aspect of telling yourself that you'll never get out. It's a very it's a self-imposing, debilitating, and it cannot allow you to move. In fact, it's so bad that even when something good happens to you, you're still in shock.
It is self-limiting.
You're like, do I really belong here? Have you ever taken a guy to... He's like, I can't do this. I can't. I shouldn't be in such a place. He should be down there with the chickens. There's that. And then the second thing I think for me, off the top of my head, and you guys can add a few more, is the fact that you do not actually interrogate why you are where you are.
That
honestly, truly. Is it curses? Is it self? Is it lack of opportunity? Is it mindset? In order to get out of a problem, we must recognize what it is.
Sure, what it is. Yeah. And I think it's very important that you brought that out, because one other thing that really stands as a principle of breaking off of intergenerational poverty is getting someone to mentor you, to walk you through the journey and tell you the process. This is how I did
richness.
It. Yeah, to witness.
The insecurity is around, I don't know why, but most people who have perhaps what you're looking for to have, usually, like Levi says, they would give you all those manner of funny, stories of how to get there, which are neither here nor there.
I will give my example. So when I was in just after high school, I had this desire to want to know how to make stuff, to create wealth, to get things right. So I would stop someone who I think has made it, in my opinion, back then, and I would ask them, what can I do to get where you are? Some, of course, would give me what they thought they had done. Some would, shush me away. And some would be kind enough to say, accompany me for a day or a week, see what I do, see whether you can manage that. Why I say that is, I know a church like Lavington, for example, has an excellent program for men, where men go in and they're mentored by older men, basically being shown the process. This is what I did. This is the loophole I had to go around, or this is what I should warn you that should you go here, this is a red flag. Please avoid. In a way, they will give you pointers on your way, so that as you strive to break off of that, you have direction to follow.
Definitely. There are people who are still willing to work with others. It's not entirely true that no one wants to help anyone. Pastor?
Yeah, now there's a difference between poverty and wealth.
Right.
It is possible there are many people who are not poor, but they are listening to this program hoping will give them the secret of being wealthy. I think we should remain focused that we are looking at a poor person who is suffering because of poverty, not somebody who has several clothes and what is comfortable, but is just looking to make more money. I think that's not the focus. And I get concerned when we say generational poverty. It can only be generational in the sense that the whole generation is stuck in poverty. That is when it is generational poverty. Not just because you and your uncle share the same characteristics of careless living, so the two of you are poor and the whole family is okay. There's nothing generational there. You two need to grow up. So when we talk about generational poverty, we must look at what would make a whole generation of people poor. Number one, it could be that they are all in the habit of brewing local brew. and selling. So as a result of local brew, the children don't go to school, you know, and because everyone again is addicted to the alcohol, so the whole community of the whole generation of people who are selling their land, you know, living in that situation of alcohol abuse, then that group of people will need one of them to come out and say, I'm brewing no more. I'm drinking no more. And that person sets them free. Now, if the generational poverty is as a result of a curse, we must establish where did the curse come from. So that it's not just hearsay where people say in the village and say, that family is cursed. That family, nobody will make it through school. If that is said, I have seen what people do elsewhere. They will pick a child or two from that family and take them very far, where they will not keep hearing that thing that you can't go past Form 1. And those children make it. They make it. Take them out of that environment. So those are ways of breaking these which we call generational poverty. Yeah. Again, like I'd mentioned in the previous episode, there's the issue of witchcraft. Now, witchcraft is like terrorism. It terrorizes your mind so that while even where there is no witchcraft, you believe there is witchcraft. For example, when you get into business, it will take 3 years or so for the business to stabilize. The first year, it will keep going up and down. Now, if you believe in poverty, in witchcraft, what will you say? The moment you start keeping chicken, then they die, you say, there you go.
There it is.
They're my neighbors.
I know.
Those are my neighbors. I know what's happening here. Yet, other people keeping chicken elsewhere are going through the same thing. So that generational poverty, so to speak, is more of the environmental message that is repeated around, that anyone who tried buying a car in this village died before driving a car. Anyone who built a permanent house was buried before they entered the house. Now everyone believes. Now when you try to build a permanent house, and because you are working hard with the constructors and you feel a headache, you say, I think my end is coming. Because so that generational poverty has been aggravated by the community belief in witchcraft.
And it's very true. I want to pick up on that because that actually generation, what the generation is saying, the communities, and especially for those of us who come from where we come from, is so rampant. Because sometimes I question myself, because the other aspect is the spiritual aspect. You know, I look at countries that are giving us money sometimes, and some of them are not even God-fearing in the sense of what we would know, you know. And you want to ask themselves, so why, even David asked, so why are they prospering? There are certain principles they have applied that we are not applying ourselves. One of them was where we talked about earlier on about how, you know, fathers are taking their sons, their daughters through how they make their money, you know, over generations, and things are passed on to a point where people are used to having success. But one very bad thing is the association of wealth with evil.
Yeah.
A lot of times we have done that, you know, where the places we come from. People are so satisfied with being poor because being wealthy is like, you know, let us be poor so that we can go to heaven. You know, let us not touch money. Let us not, you know, get there. And we pass it on and on. You know, so and so, hey, you know, those are the sins will catch up with you. Yet God has put us here and told us to subdue the land, to dominate the place. So that even that also becomes a barrier, because you want to go somewhere, but because of that association of what you think could happen out there that has been put by generations towards you, you decide you're not going to reach there. And you know, the Bible is telling us very clearly that the borrower is a
slave
to the land.
Yeah.
You know, and asking us, we are called to be lenders and not called to be borrowers. So we need to change those mindsets completely, even from the what's it called? The blueprint has to be kick-started. And one other thing I should say, we shouldn't be afraid to dream. You know, I don't think we say it enough when we tell people that you can be what you want to be. The Americans are good at saying that. But I'm telling you, it is so true. I've watched several documentaries of people talking about how they have gotten somewhere because of something they believe that they could be. For example, I was watching a documentary on Cristiano Ronaldo. I think everyone knows Ronaldo, the football
The
player.
footballer.
You know, and one of the things he says is that he started practicing free kicks when he was young. At some point, he got to a place where he was doing 1,000 free kicks per day. 1,000 free kicks per day. Do you imagine how much it takes to do 1,000 free kicks per day? How much toil and turmoil and input it goes into that? And he says he got to a place where he's so good at it that when he kicks the ball, now in the game, before people even say he knows it's going in, he's already turning and doing his
Celebrating.
He already knows where it's going. But if you think about it, the amount of practice it takes to get there means what? He must have failed 50 times, 70 times. Maybe one day he scored at number 3 or 2. The next day he scored at number 290. The following day he scored 10 in a row or 20 in a row. And he's like, oh my goodness, this is really coming together. We must also tell people that there is some work. There's no magic. When we see people up there, sometimes we imagine that they got up there somehow by some abracadabra. There are some years of toil under the sea there that are not seen. You know, the iceberg is bigger at the bottom. And that is why the practice today, so today you opened, like you said, you opened and your cuckoos died. Try tomorrow. Try the next day. You cannot tell yourself you will not do it because you didn't try. There is no baby who ever walked, fell down, and decided walking is not for me. Babies fall all the time.
So the
but
principles,
tomorrow, they're walking again.
So the principles remain principles.
They remain principles.
Now, there is the issue of false hope. This continent is full of religious organizations.
The African continent.
We are notoriously religious. And one thing that is sold by religion
Is hope.
is hope. There is a danger in false hope. False hope can keep you poor for the rest of your life. When you keep earning a lot of money, and instead of giving God 10% tithe, 10% offering, you are bringing 100% to some apostle. And then you go back to hunger, and you believe that by giving that, there will be a miracle that will pump money into your account suddenly. That is going to happen. When you see adults of sound mind, as the legal people say, adults of sound mind, lifting their phones up, that there is a message of M-Pesa that will come. And you are not expecting, and it's not because anyone was sending you money. You are just believing. False hope can also trap people in poverty. Because now you find yourself, you are stuck, and then you are pumping it on your children, and they are believing. They are just singing, praying, believing. They are not working hard in school. They are believing. I'm believing the Lord in this matter. Yeah, my star is somewhere. I'm believing the Lord. You are not slashing your piece of land. You are not weeding. You are not planting. You are believing the Lord. That is generational poverty. You will stay there as a generation until the day you wake up. The Lord does not perform miracles. No, God will perform a miracle on the work you have done. God will not perform a miracle on an empty slate.
True. He's
where
not
you,
a magician.
Yeah, you have not done anything, and you want God to perform something there. You will be stuck in poverty for a very long time. I know hope gives you comfort and peace of mind. That's what Karl Marx said. This is opium.
Opium for
You are high. You are just high. If we withdraw the opium, you will see the reality. You are poor. You walked to church, and the bishop who was walking came using a car which you can't afford because all of you contributed to it. And then he gives you more opium.
to remain there.
To remain there. He grows rich, you grow poor. And he can even gather courage like some who are now abusing people. He says, I can't live in those kind of places. I can't drive the kind of cars you are driving.
And yet you funded that.
And it's the people he's speaking to are the ones who are funded.
It's really unfortunate.
So let me also speak about another false hope that is coming up very commonly among the youth these days. The false hope of manifesting, right? So your friend just got a big break, quote unquote.
Manifest.
Yeah. So I know my day is coming, you know.
False hope.
False hope without putting in effort towards growing and making that day come. Yeah. But because your friend, you know, got a big break, or they got through dubious means, yeah, and you're Christian and you're thinking, okay, that is dubious means, but they still broke through, yeah. So you're starting to manifest in that similar manner in the way that it occurred to them, and in your way, instead of putting in effort to grow what you have, you know, the rod in your hand that needs to bud and give you fruits, you're not looking at that. You're starting to manifest what someone else has.
People are planting seeds, Pastor.
So what's happening here? Let's define poverty. There are people indeed who are totally poor.
Yeah.
They are living on less than $1 a day. They can't afford anything. Even the meal, they are barely surviving. And unless somebody does anything, those people will die. What does that need? How do we help those people? For sure, there must be intervention.
Yeah.
The church must come in, the government must come in, because those people are in a dire need. But there are people who are slightly better off. Maybe they can get a meal a day or two. So what they are struggling with are now circumstantial issues. Those kind of people may need courage to take risks and try again. And by God's grace, they'll come out. But now there are people who are poor because they think they are poor. They compare themselves with others. Now that's also a state of poverty. And those are people who are sick amongst us. They say, oh, we are poor, we are poor, we are poor. But the person is not poor. The person is properly employed. They get money. It's mental poverty. They need also to be liberated because they are also poor.
Yeah.
Now there are people who are poor because of the environment. Yeah, they live in an environment where everyone has 1,000 acres of land and they only have 5 acres. So they feel we are the poorest in this community. They also need to be assisted. There are different levels of poverty, but our concern should be the people who are at a total risk, those who are at the lowest level, people who can't help themselves. If we don't do anything, we'll wake up tomorrow, they are dead in their house.
Yeah, and I want to say something to that because those ones at the bottom, I want to say something to all of us who are not at that stage.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to be millionaires to give something. We don't have to be, you know, reach the $1 billion levels for you to at least give back. If all of us were dedicated to just help in one way or another to those small ones, the ones that are, you know, the littlest amongst us, even because even Jesus told us, you know, that in this way we are actually inviting angels into our homes. We should actually actively be in a place where we can also reach out a hand to those ones who are there at $1 a day. And if we are truly going to help, then we must also accompany that with an education. Because, you know, unfortunately, when you've been poor for so long, a mindset comes upon you. You know, because it was not God's will to be poor. A spiritual mindset also checks in with that poverty and sits on you there, making sure that the staircase you want to climb out of, you cannot, even if you're let free. Have you ever taken a chicken and put it in a box, traveled with it from up country, you bring it to Nairobi, and then suddenly you untie its legs and it's not going anywhere? It can't believe it's free. You know, for a few seconds there, it's still trapped where it was trapped before. It's being huddled in that corner. He doesn't realize it can explore, you know, the new world that it has come into. A lot of us are like that. Even when we are removed a bit, we cannot walk. So we must accompany that with a very heavy education on the mindset of removing. If we really want to help people get out of poverty, we must accompany it and help them to get out of it entirely, even out of their mind.
Wow. And then there is the issue of government systems. Somebody has correctly said that many of us are one disease away from abject poverty. That all the money you've made, you just need one diagnosis.
Oh yeah.
And that's it.
And all the money you've made and all the pieces of land you've bought and houses you've built will be put together, sold, and you are out.
True.
We should be in a place where we are demanding from our governments for a better health care. There are countries that have made it around the world where even if you are diagnosed with a serious illness, the public facilities can take care of you without you impoverishing yourself. Because if I've collected a few material things which I expect to live for my children, then I'm here totally sick. Do I spend all of it and eventually die so that my children will find themselves exactly where I was?
Yeah.
So it's like you are setting back the children 50 years because their father is 50 and the sickness has set him up 50 years behind, then the children find themselves 50 years behind because they are beginning there. And if they also get sick at some point, setback, there is a government role that must be demanded, Brother Justus, that there are things the government can put in place. If it can build roads, it can build better medical facilities so that we save people from, because all of us are just standing, one disease away from total poverty. Because one, you are kicked out of work by policies. After you are kicked out of work by policies, then now all that you had, everyone wants to try to heal you, to take you through hospital, because they don't want a suicidal situation where you just choose to die.
Wow. Your final words, Alvin.
I think Pastor has rightly put it, and I'd want to chime in exactly from that point, that Scripture says in Proverbs that happy is the man that has children because they are as arrows
in a quiver.
And arrows are sent out to hunt, to bring in more. That empowerment to your young ones as they grow, that they too need to push that barrier further ahead, would really go a long way, so that we do not have a society where we have men who want their families to be submissive, and then they're also providing. And that is a conversation I think we need to have as well sometime in the future. But my final remark would be that let our daily prayer or reserve be that we ask the Lord to bless us with enough. Not so much that we should forget him, and not so little that we should go out to seek.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But those who are single must get a spouse that they can work together to get wealth. Otherwise, some spouses will send you. We will say that another day.
That is the discussion.
But the men, unmasking the man. There are men who the spouse they will get will bring them down.
There are men, I must say, there are men who are looking for submissive providers.
Gentlemen, are you getting us into a different discussion?
No, that was my closing remark.
We concur with it.
Totally agree.
Thank you so much, and all of you for spending time here. To those who have grown up in poverty, I want to remind you that your circumstances do not define your worth or potential. You have within you the strength, resilience, and creativity to forge a new path for yourself and future generations. Thank you so much for being here on the Unmasking of the Man. I hope to see you again next time. Till then, God bless.